and good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you. We're gonna move people up the tube. Hope today, hope you're feeling grand, and also when you will, I am very much people of the tube as we are here again with the Blackstar Silverline Deluxe head that I unboxed the other day. I have been really getting into this amp over the last couple of days, and I bloomin' love it. Good gravy, lords. Is this fantastic? Yes, it is. I did run into a slight hiccup with my pedal board with this amp, which is it's got so much bottom end when I plug my pedal board into it. I have to actually go into the zoom and wipe out quite a lot of low end. I have to take out the low end with the EQ portion of the zoom pedal, and then it works a treat. But that is kind of annoying. I wouldn't want to keep doing that every time. That would kind of get on my nerves a bit. But then again, what I would do is I would save a separate patch for it in my Zoom. So when I was using this amp, I would just click onto that one, and that would be that. So it's not a big deal, but it is kind of annoyance. And it is something I find with quite a few amps. My Marshall AVT has the same thing. And a few other amps I've tried in the past have done this thing where when I plug my pedal board in, the bass is just like, even if I turn the bass all the way off, it's just humongous. Anyway, let's talk about Blackstar Silverline. It's a 100 watt, 12 channel, yes, you heard me correct, 12 channel amp. For a 100 watt amp, it's not very loud. The intro jam, I had the volume up at 11 o'clock. Now, I'm not used to running amps in this room that far up on the volume without dying of volume poisoning. Especially because the first kind of major powerful amp I had was my Marshall MG. My Carlsberg was kind of powerful, but being a combo, it was kind of limited. But my Marshall MG, I never got that thing above 3 on the dial. And that was gigging with no mics on the cab, just literally as is. So this amp and the Super Crush that's up on the top of the bass stack here, they're ridiculously quiet, and I have to gun these things to get them to the right volume. The CR120 is another one, to be honest with you. I have to have that thing up about 12 o'clock to gig with. It's very, very quiet. And let's say, compared to my Marshall MG, where I normally run that thing on about 10 o'clock, gigging volume in here, when I do videos with MGs in here or anywhere, I normally have them just above 1. And it's like, I don't know what it is. Certain amps, even over 100 watts, really ridiculously quiet. And I know 100 watts of 100 watt head doesn't mean it's going to be like absolutely deafening, but I'd expect this to be a bit louder. It's like the Super Crush up there. They're not particularly loud amps, I don't think. Not compared to some of the amps I've played through in my life, definitely not. And especially not compared to my MG or my Laney or the Boss Katana. These things are very, very quiet. So, anyway, enough on that. That is one thing to note, though. Another thing to note, PeopleTube, and this is a negative vote from me, even though I don't tend to use it. This amp has no effects loop. Now, that to me is a huge oversight on Blackstar's part. I don't really understand why they haven't put an effects loop in this amp, but it doesn't have an effects loop. Neither do the combos. It's very weird. Like I say, I don't use an effects loop, but I know a lot of people do. So if you're after an amp with an effects loop, this is not for you. And I think that's stupid on Blackstar's front, personally. I think this really should have an effects loop. Even if you don't need it or you don't use it, every amp should come stock with an effects loop, I personally feel, because a lot of people use them. And they're kind of important to a lot of people's setups. A lot of people like running delays and choruses and reverbs through effects loops. Not everyone likes running things into the front end. So I think that's a bit of a stupid thing, and it's definitely a minus on this amp. But again, it does make up for it in the fact of it does sound amazing. Like I say, it's got 12 channels of savable presets, PeopleTube. So you've got channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 on here on the green bank. You've got another channel of 4 on the yellow bank, and you've got another channel of 4 on the red bank. Or you can just press this button here that says manual, and what you see is what you get. Works like a normal amp. You don't have to worry about the presets. Just where you turn the dials, you get what you get. We've got a really cool 4-band EQ here. We've got bass, middle, treble, and the ISF dial, which is just like amazing on this amp. It's so good. You got a gain and a volume. You got different voices. You've got a clean, a warm clean tone, a bright clean tone, crunch, super crunch, which is just like Richie Blackmore in heaven. OD1 and OD2. OD2 has a mid-range push. It's a bit more boosted in the mid-range. It's like you kicked on a tube screamer or something. You got response here. This dial here is called response, and this basically gives you kind of different. It's supposed to emulate different kind of valves. So you've got EL84, 6V6, EL34, KT66, 6L6, and KT88. I think I pretty much stuck to the EL84. Yeah, I did. I didn't come off EL84. I just found that to be my happy place. I do like the 6L6 tone, which is more Fendery, a bit more sparkly, but I prefer the EL84. That's my home. That's that sound in my head. But again, there is enough there to go on with. Then you've got an effects section here, POTT, of you got 4 different delays, 4 different reverbs, and 4 different modulations. You've got phaser, flanger, chorus, and tremolo. And you've got like multi-tap delay, an analog delay, digital delay, and different kind of reverbs. You've got massive hall reverbs, room reverbs. And then that's amazing. And then over here you got your master section of the amp, which is a resonance, which basically adds a bit more low end. You don't need more low end on this amp. It's got enough on the bass dial. I don't really know why that's there. It's kind of a pointless dial. You got a presence dial, which again adds sparkle. It adds brightness. It's very, very cool. And that is not savable. The resonance and the presence are not savable to the channels. These are actually part of the master section. So where these are, we'll go over all those channels. So bear that in mind. So if you're finding channel 2's channel 1's great with the presence up, but channels 2 too bright with the presence up, it's kind of annoying. But it's not the end of the world. And then you got your master volume, which again I'm running at 11 o'clock, which is way too far for my liking for a 100 watt amp. In the back you've got a MIDI in, which is quite cool, foot switch in and a line out and 2 speaker outs. That's your lot. But it's fantastic and it looks cool. I love the way it looks, even though I think the Blackstar logo should be in the middle. I think it looks a bit weird over there. It's a bit too Friedman-y, and I think it should be in the middle. So I actually might move mine to the middle because I feel like it wants to be in the middle. I don't know. I'm going to experiment. Anyway, but yeah, enough waffle, people. Let me show you this thing. So what I'm going to do is, I have channel 1 set up for my pedal board, and like I say, I had that set up with the internal EQ on the Zoom turned down on the bass because it's just too bassy otherwise. There's too much low end. Even with the bass off and the resonance off, it's still too much low end. What I'm going to do now though is I'm going to unplug the pedal board and we're just going to go straight in and I'm going to show you the sounds with the Strat, and then we're going to plug a Les Paul and let you hear this, let you hear the presets I've got. Because like I say, if I went through everything on this amp, we'd be here all day, and because I've done a 20-minute intro, I kind of need to hurry up because I know you're busy people and I don't want to keep you all day. Anyway, so let's get to it. So channel 2 is my dirty, clean John Frusciante kind of thing. Channel 3 is kind of Richie Blackmore territory. Channel 4 is full out distortion. Then I'm going to go switch to the yellow bank, where I've got like an ambient kind of sound, and also I've tried to replicate my Fender Super Reverb tone on channel 3 of the yellow bank, and we'll get to that when we get to it. So without further doodles, people of the tube, let's plug straight into this thing and let me show you some more tones of the Blackstar Silverline Deluxe. Oh, actually quickly, I do apologise, these things are not cheap. They are about 500 quid, so the heads are very expensive. The only reason I could afford this was it was B stock, and it's got a few scuffs and marks all over it. It was on the shop floor apparently, and it's been used and abused, and it put it into my price bracket, but only just. It still bankrupted me, but they are fantastic if you can go for it. But again, the combos sound great as well, so you don't have to get the head if you don't want to. But I do love these, and again, I never thought I would ever say, here's a Blackstar amp on this channel, people of the tube. The pigs have flown. Let's make some noise. I'm gonna be true. There you go. That's just a quick example of all the presets that I've got. So you got this clean, like, in all fairness, the Strat was a better idea. I'm having massive issues with my Revelation recently. Just not. I don't know what's going on with it. It's just not staying in tune at all. Everything I try fails. I've even got gauge 10s on it, which is something I don't really like doing on Les Pauls. But I've tried stretching the strings. No matter what I do, no matter how hard I stretch them, they just the guitar doesn't seem to want to settle. I don't know if it's the weather right now or what it is, but it's driving me up the wall, which is it's frustrating because I love that guitar so much and it's just acting the goat. I just don't know what's going on. It managed to tune itself sharp during that little playing example of 3 minutes. The E, A, and D strings had managed to go up nearly a semitone. I don't understand that one. Does anyone understand why that's happening when it was perfectly in tune when I started playing and then it just goes up in tune? I've had things fall out of tune but never up in tune. Your guess is as good as mine, people do. Anyway, regardless of the revelation, this amp is fantastic and I'm in love with it. This is just one of those amps that I just want to plug into the front end, like, and just use the amp for everything. Like, I've got no real desire to kind of, like, you know, mess with pedals with this thing, because it's kind of, I like the effects, I like the delays, I like the reverbs, I love the way this bloody thing sounds. Oh my god, the distortions and the overdrives and the clean tones you can get out of it are just phenomenal. I really do love it. Like I say, it does get a minus point because it's got no effects loop, which again, I don't use, but I know a lot of people do, and I think that's really dumb that it doesn't have it. Yeah, I don't get it. Like I say, I really do recommend going to check one of these things out, POTT. They are so good. The combos are great. The only issue with the combos that I've found is because they're closed back. They tend to be, again, extraordinarily low-endy. I don't know what it is with these amps. I don't know who are they cranking the treble on them or what, because there's so much bass in there, so much low end for that kind of classic kind of like rock guitar tones and the classic blue tones. There's too much low end, far too much low end. You know, I compared this the other day to my MG, my number one MG, the Fish. And I had the bass on that amp. I run the bass on that amp on flat out, and I can do that most of the time with the MGs because it never gets in the way. It just adds just the right amount. But on this amp, in all fairness, pretty much every amp I always run the bass off, and that's normally fine. But on this one and a few other amps I own, and a few other amps I've tried in the past, no matter what I do, it's still too much low end. And the good thing is, luckily, I've got an EQ pedal. I've got an EQ section of the Zoom pedal, so I can actually get rid of it. So if I don't want it, I can get rid of it, and that makes everything, you know, hunky-dory and fine. But I don't really understand it myself. But either way, I really do recommend checking out these amps. They are fantastic. This thing is awesome. I love the way it looks. I adore the way it sounds, and I never thought I would say that, POTT, about a Blackstar amp in my life, but here we are. Like I say, pigs have flown. And yeah, let me know what you thought in the comment section below, POTT. Like I say, recommend these. Absolutely awesome. The combos are fantastic as well. The little 25 or 20 watt combo I've got downstairs is awesome. It's just incredible. How many times did I say awesome? Too many. But yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. I just don't know, POTT. But this thing's great. So I hope you enjoyed this vid, and I will see you again for another video very, very soon. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and goodbye now. Who would have guessed? No one.